Well, I think one of the most powerful things we can accomplish as a group is to affect change to some level, even if it's helping one person's career. For example, I know so many coordinators, and I don't know if it's just me, but I know a lot of Latino coordinators, and I don't know that many Latino CRAs. And I don't know why that's the case. It's just something I've noted, literally something I just thought of right now as we're talking. I think that it's certainly not from a lack of interest from the coordinators out there. So I think there's got to be a way that we can help some people's career trajectories out of this group. I mean, we all who work in the industry, we know people, we all know that people get hired a lot of the times based on who they know. So I think that's one of the most powerful things we can do is actually affect change, even at the individual level, just starting with one person at a time.
Exactly. We actually have one CRA here, Jacqueline
Yeah.
Alim. Sorry if I mispronounced it, but yes, she's a Latina CRA. So potential interview, Dan, right?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And
But
you.
yeah.
And Ashley
Yes.
yourself. I mean, are there like I haven't been paying attention, but are there Latino and Latina CRAs or
Well,
not?
to,
Because there's a lot of coordinator.
yeah, there's definitely a lot of coordinators. Like from my, well, I didn't give my intro, and I'm sorry about that. So, my name is Ashley Margo. I currently in Austin, Texas. I'm originally from the Rio Grande Valley, very South Texas. So I have about 10 years, a little over 10 years of clinical industry experience, and some of that being into research. Throughout that time frame, I've been exposed to, clinical research coordinators, some CRAs, and multiple physicians that were also dabbling with their private industry, with their private site in clinical research. And so, speaking to what Dan had said, yeah, I've seen a lot of Latino CRCs, but only just a small handful of CRAs. And to be quite honest, that actually only started happening until I came to Austin. And I've only, out of the multiple that I've met and talked to, I think there's only about 3 that I know. So that is kind of interesting. I hadn't thought about that at all. So, definitely something we want to touch in on and maybe even kind of get some stats on that if we can to
We
kind of
should.
make that.
We should. And I
Yeah.
think it's actually related to uh, Judy's issues that she brought up, like when it comes to, I guess, making it more accessible for study opportunities for Latinos. I'm talking about patients. That's only going to come from the sponsor. They're called sponsor for a reason. They're paying for the study. Like the sites can give them suggestions, which Judy's probably done till she's blue in the face, but really the change is going to come from them. And I think the more Latinos we get involved, close to the sponsor level as you can get, the more that's going to accomplish for the patients and making studies more accessible for patients. So if we can play, like if this group and all of you guys can play even a small role in this, that's making huge that's going to make huge improvements in the industry, even from just some small changes. Like it's just a matter of getting a few people. It starts with getting the CRCs to become CRAs. It's not that they don't want to. They message me on Instagram and LinkedIn almost every day. How do I become a CRA? So CRAs then become what? They become lead CRAs who then become consultants for sponsors. I mean, that's how the career trajectories go in this industry. And it's more about who you know. And until we get more Latinos, I think at the sponsor side, we're not going to really see these changes. We might see lip service being done, but nothing real, unfortunately. So if we can play a part in that, I'd be happy. And I'm sure that the industry would also be happy as well.
Yeah, and to touch on what you just said, Dan, coming from a rural area, I actually didn't know, having had some research background, even some public health exposure, I had no idea how many, roles and levels of roles there were in clinical research. I didn't know until I moved to the city. And even at that, it took a while of researching before, knowing this. So I definitely feel that it has a lot to do, again, with what you said, who you know, resources, education, formal education, as to, you know, how far you can take it, you know, your role and where the advancements are, what kind of education or certs you need to take in order to get that level of advancement, to be able to jump into a CRO or to a sponsor level, and what that type of job would entail. And you know, as for my background, that I do help people with their job application process into clinical research. I feel like that's something I would personally like to also bring to this organization, because there's just so many routes and routes that you can take that could really just very quickly maneuver you into the right place at the right time within a short period of time, so long as you know where it is that you need to go and what you need to do. And that's also why I think your organization, the CRC Academy and the CRA Academy, and you know, your podcasts are so helpful, and why I'm very excited about this organization, because I feel we're going to touch on so many important topics that everybody, not just, you know, in the cities, CROs and sponsors, but even students that, you know, come across this, that came from like a STEM background from schooling, that biology background, you know, this is, we're going to be able to provide, you know, us along with all the members coming together and providing this very valuable information. We're going to help kind of push forward the new generation of research, right? And I feel like our impact right now, just us being here right now, is just a small glimpse as to how big of a move it's going to make for the next incoming generation. And it's our job as Latinos and as ethnicities that come together, that care about, you know, where we're taking this knowledge, what it's going to bring, you know. And so I feel very, very strong about what we're doing here today and what we'll continue to be doing. And really excited that everyone's here.
Actually, so that leads, I know, because I looked at your agenda yesterday. It was very good, by the way. I know it's coming up, this thing about mentoring, you know, current students, like college students, even high school students. And I got to give a shout out to Black women in clinical research, because they're doing this pretty well. They're in the communities, in the colleges, in the universities, even in the high schools. They had plans of going in there, educating them about clinical research, about careers in clinical research. I'm just reading the comments. Joe says, you know, education and career pathway, professional groups to join, networking, key groups to join. George says, I think more training activities for healthcare professionals. Most of them are only dedicated to assistance care, not research. Very true.
Exactly.
And also somebody said, and even less Latinos in trial master file than CRAs. So yeah, it's, look, I see a lot of coordinators. I mean, I see you, Carlos. How's it going? There's a Latino coordinator right there. And he actually had, if Carlos wants to talk, he can talk. He had aspirations to be a CRA, but now he's changing his mind. I don't know why, but Carlos, we need more Latino CRAs.
Yeah, I definitely agree what you mentioned, because I think, like a lot of us, we kind of stumbled into this profession. When I was in college, I responded to a Craigslist ad for a very part-time research assistant position for a sleep disorders company. I didn't know what it was about. I responded, I got an interview, and I had to go in a few hours a week just taking vital signs, doing questionnaires on the patients that were spending the night in the sleep lab. Pretty easy, basic stuff. I was in college. Why not? And then that's when I discovered this whole other industry that I did not know existed. Mind you, I was a biology major pre-med in college, yet I had never heard of clinical research. And then I just moved up from there, and like they said, the rest is history. The thing is, I think there is a little more programs now in colleges, maybe masters, but I still don't think college students know about clinical research, definitely not high school. I don't know college. I see more programs now, but unless you come from a background or somebody in your family told you about it, no one is actually going into that because they don't really understand what it's about. So as you mentioned, if we start educating a younger generation to get into research, then we'll open it up to more people in the industry with different backgrounds and the opportunities to go into different areas. You know, there's so many areas in clinical research you can go into. If you don't want to work with patients, there's data entry. If you don't want to do data entry, there's all these other areas.
Yeah.
And they're great careers to go into that you can make really good money, just people don't know.
Exactly. I think it has a lot to do with the misconception. I mean, for me, I just graduated from college, I think, 3 years ago, and I had multiple opportunities to get into research in college, and my perception of research was at what offered in college, not outside in my job. But I understood that was more of lab research, which it wasn't. But because of the lack of, people going out there giving resources to the students, explaining what it is and what exactly it is they'd be doing. I mean, you had tons of students pre-med wanting exposure to subjects, to patients, these kinds of things. And little did they know that the opportunities are right there in front of them. They could have had a whole other career pathway as an option, but they didn't know because there wasn't enough talk about this. And partially that is also another thing I'd like for us to do as an organization, eventually making our way, once, COVID calms down, making our way into interviewing students and interviewing, professors that actually bring this to, the universities, and how they're trying to not only bring students in, but, make it more diverse and give these opportunities out and things like that. So, just education and resources is really just key for sure.
Yes, I would like to add to this is like Judy was mentioning, in research, pretty much all the careers that you can think of, we have it in pharmaceutical research. Every single thing. The great thing about it is that pharmaceutical pays better than any other industry, and it's probably more stable. So there are many people out there that are craving to get a career, even though that they have already a bachelor's in their hands, but nobody gives them the opportunity to get this experience.
I think our job is to go out there and kind of give an example to other people who are interested in the industry. I mean, it's going to start from your sphere of influence. Like, your only incentive is you're trying to help somebody out. So you're either a friend or a family member. Perfect example. When I'm moving to Arizona to start my clinic, my niece, she's a medical assistant. She knows nothing about research other than what she hears from me. But she's going to be starting as a research assistant. I'm going to be teaching her how to be a coordinator. So it starts like small. It starts from the people getting them involved in the research industry. They're going to get others involved. It's like a network effect. The point is to get more patients enrolled in studies, because that's going to help us get better drug data, right, from these studies, because we need more minorities, we need more African Americans, we need more Hispanics, we need more Asian Americans in research, because the patients are of all ethnicities out there. People who take medications are not just Caucasians, it's all ethnicities. So we need that data in research. Somebody else said I started as an MA too, drew blood and did vital signs. That's another thing. I think these MA schools,
That's how I started.
These MA schools, if you think about like the career options that an MA has, are very limited until you bring in research. From what I see, I maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's other things they can do, but they pay a lot of money to go to school. It's not a bachelor's degree, and they have ceilings as far as what they can earn until you introduce research. Then they could be a coordinator, they could be a site director. I don't know another industry where you can do that.